Who could have predicted this? Netanyahu attacks the Biden administration in a new video. I'm sorry, but Biden going full genocide Joe, torching his electoral chances in 80% of Gaza in order to cover for Bibi's war crimes, only to have Bibi predictably start running campaign ads for Trump is so perfectly Scorpion and the Frog. You couldn't write it better. Yeah, there is. I mean, this is the most expected thing. This is what he's been doing since day one. So yeah, it doesn't even look good from like a domestic political calculation. This is literally what Biden has been doing. And this is literally what Bibi has been doing this entire time. Nothing has changed. It is mind-boggling that this is what is going on. I've been saying this over and over again. Nobody listens to me. The White House said this video is still about the one shipment that was paused. Yeah, that's insane. You are a spoiled, petulant child. Oh my God. Okay, let's start with this. Lamau's still crying about that. I know, it's just insane. Okay, I'm just banning people that try to type Noam Chomsky in the chat. Once again, we don't know yet. It is not 100% confirmed. If it is, I'll talk about it. I hate that people just keep posting the Jacobin article. It is right here. Jacobin posted an obituary. I don't understand what goes on in the minds of people. Like, I don't get it. What is confirmation? Someone from his family or another news. Dude, Noam Chomsky is an incredibly famous linguist and American historian. He is a profoundly important individual for American academia. If he dies, the New York Times is going to post an obituary. It's not just going to be Jacobin. That's no disrespect to Jacobin, but like, I don't know. We don't know yet. Until there's like direct confirmation, I will not be saying that Noam Chomsky is dead. The likelihood is high. He was 900,000 years old, okay? He was 900,000 years old, and he had a pretty bad stroke 6 days ago. A pretty bad stroke that, as far as we understand, rendered him unable to speak. So obviously, you know, things are not looking too great when you're like 95 years old and you have a pretty bad stroke. Let's look at this video.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, give us the tools, we'll do the job. And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
Give us the tools. Yeah, okay. Breaking. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. We genuinely do not know what he's talking about. There is one shipment that was paused. Everything else is moving. That's crazy that he is like cooking them. Wait, did he talk about Trump or did he talk about Biden more? Or is this the only thing that he put out? Question. Netanyahu said you assured him last week the U.S. is working to remove the pause on certain weapons to Israel. Is this accurate? We are continuing to review one shipment, but everything else is moving as it normally would.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu posted about an hour ago, conveniently timed for this press conference, a video talking about U.S. pause on some weapons to Israel, and said you assured him last week that U.S. is working to remove those bottlenecks. Is this an accurate characterization of what you told him? If not, what did you tell him? Will the U.S. remove its holds on these bombs?
First, it's very important to remember that our security relationship with Israel goes well beyond Gaza. Israel is facing a multiplicity of threats and challenges, including in the north from Hezbollah, from Iran, from the Houthis in the Red Sea, from various groups that are aligned against Israel and in many cases beholden to Iran. So the President's been very clear from day one that he will do everything he can to make sure that Israel has what it needs to effectively defend itself against these threats. And a big part of that as well is making sure that in providing that assistance to Israel, it has a strong deterrent, which is the best way to avoid more conflict, to avoid more war, to avoid what we're already seeing in Gaza spreading to other areas, to other fronts. That's been one of our objectives from day one. So we're committed to that. We, as you know, are continuing to review one shipment that President Biden has talked about with regard to 2,000-pound bombs because of our concerns about their use in a densely populated area like Rafah. That remains under review. But everything else is moving as it normally would move. And again, with the perspective of making sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself against this multiplicity of challenges. With regard to the ceasefire,
How do you explain this shit to people on the verge of anti-Semitism? Bro, I don't know. I don't know how you can turn around. It's just America is a dying empire and they still are they are susceptible to making miscalculations in terms of like how much unconditional support should be afforded to Israel. And I think that that is what's going on, because there's still plenty of people within the State Department structure that is like literally begging there to be some level of restraint. And I think that there is like ideologically committed Zionists that are just genuinely refusing to hear that. And I think that's what it is. But ultimately, obviously, Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. It's ridiculous. It's basically like asking me, what do you do when you see like a black guy rob someone and a person is like on the verge of being anti-black racist? It's no different than that, because ultimately the obvious underlying fundamental here is that regardless of the way that Israel presents itself as a defender of Judaism and claims that to be Zionist is to be a Jew, that is still not the case. Why is Zionism such a corner piece for these freaks' worldview? Like, will they actually die if Israel's not there? Generally don't understand valuing a state above basic human rights. I think that maybe some people beyond their calculations and beyond their like genuine commitment to Israel are looking at the situation and going, if we take an L here, it's just basically showing the rest of the world that we have taken an L. And if Israel takes an L, it looks like America is taking an L. Maybe that's the reason. I can't really think of any other genuine reason as to why America has not restrained Israel even a little bit at this point. Like, it is pretty crazy. It's a big damned if you do, damned if you don't situation in front of the American State Department. It's like, if they restrain Israel, if they force Israel to capitulate, if they force Israel to a ceasefire, then it's like, it looks like they, backed the wrong horse. And you can hear this from Israeli officials. They say it all the time. It's giving Hamas a W for October 7. That's the way they view it. That's the calculation that Israeli officials have here, is like any kind of concession or capitulation to Hamas in the negotiations process means that you literally have taken an L. You've admitted that like October 7 was very successful as a military operation. You achieved their goals. You gave them their goals. And there's only two different ways that this goes down historically. Well, three different ways. One, you take the L early, which rarely ever happens. The offending party, the original offending party, the settler colonial party takes the L and concedes and moves on, which almost never happens, right? Or you have a full-blown 20-year occupation and they take the L, later down the line, which Israel's been doing that for 75 years. So to them, it's like, any other Sunday, I guess. Or last but not least, the American version of this is full tilt ethnic cleansing in the way that we did to the indigenous population here. The difference is, of course, like that happened hundreds of years ago without social media, without telecommunications being the way that they are, without like actually seeing the humanity of the victims immediately, and being able to make up your mind about the humanity of those impacted by the settler colonial entity here. So I think that's what it is. That's what is that Israel has a choice to make here, and they don't want to seemingly make the adult choice. Maybe I'm naive, but I think it's due to them believing that the U.S. reigns in Israel and U.S. soft power is harmed due to the fact that they could have reigned them in a while ago. Even so, I don't get it. No, Israel's calculation is like, America unconditionally is our ally no matter what happens. If we pull them in, if we go into Lebanon, America will come and follow us, because obviously in order to defend against Lebanon, you're gonna need America. You can't just do this on your own. So I think that's what the calculation on the Israeli front is. It's just like, they have to support us if we go into Lebanon. So we're going to go into Lebanon and they're going to support us. America, on the other hand, is probably not interested in going into a full-blown regional conflict with a armed military, and that isn't like Hamas, but instead is like an actual armed military group with a lot of fighting experience, with targeting systems, with missiles that aren't just simply, missiles that people made in a tunnel, like actual missiles that can go and actual missiles that can target Tel Aviv. And that is before we even start talking about Iran. Think about the difference between the Houthis, Ansar Allah, and what they've been able to accomplish with the phenomenal limitations that they've had so far. Why were they able to accomplish it? Because they're a nation state at the end of the day. They're a nation state that's, survived an ethnic cleansing campaign, a civil war, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, think about what a nation state can do in the region in comparison to what Hamas has done to Israel. Hezbollah publishes drone footage claiming to show surveillance of Haifa. There you go. It's the fourth video on the docket. What more do you need to know? This is like the response to this is still incredibly arrogant and incredibly entitled, which is what Israel has known, which is what Israel has done. Ultimately, it is legitimately terrifying. Israeli arms sales break record for a third year in a row, reaching $13 billion in 2023. Defense Ministry says massive exports come as industries remain committed to Israeli war effort. Air defense systems account for more than a third of sales. Still saying bring the 120 hostages home. Israel has killed more hostages than it has saved. If you want to bring the hostages home, do the ceasefire deal. Don't come in here and complain to me, because what you are doing when you come in here and say bring the hostages home, when I'm talking about like Israel potentially opening up a new front in this war, is basically saying you only care about the hostages as a talking point. You don't give a shit. A talking point that justifies the ethnic cleansing campaign in your eyes, which it doesn't. So that's it.